The demon tilted her head and asked, "Is this not how humans greet one another?" It had been over 700 years since she last left the demon realm, and she admitted she no longer understood human customs. She turned to Kong and introduced herself with a faint smile. "My name is Ager," she said. "I am the commander of the Demon King's 5th Legion. It's a pleasure to meet you, Kong." Then, with curiosity gleaming in her eyes, Ager asked for Kang's name. However, our boy remained silent. Seeing his lack of response, Ager gave a soft laugh and remarked, "You're a cold one, aren't you? Not even willing to share your name." On the other hand, Kong was deep in thought, searching his memories for any detail about her. His greatest advantage in this unfamiliar world was his memory from playing the game Miracle Blessing M. He remembered Ager well. Among the Legion commanders, she wasn't known for her physical strength. In fact, her combat prowess was considered unremarkable. However, what made her truly dangerous was her mastery of mental-type magic. Kong recalled reading about her traits back when he still played the game, before he eventually quit. But one thing puzzled him. Why had Ager descended to the human world after 700 years? And more importantly, why had she chosen to possess Rayon as a host? While Kong silently contemplated her motives, Ager casually looked around the battlefield and observed the carnage. "Impressive," she remarked, her tone almost admiring. "You defeated all of them on your own. No wonder you didn't seem like an ordinary human." She studied him more closely. "And even now, standing in front of me so calmly. Judging by your appearance, you're still just a kid. But I suppose you might grow into a fine warrior someday." With a small, unsettling grin, she continued, "So while we're here, why don't we make a contract?" Without warning, Ager released her control magic toward Kong. Shocked, Kong didn't understand what was happening. Ager smiled and said, "Consider this an honor. I'm giving you a special opportunity to become stronger." She stepped closer, her voice turning sharper, yet strangely persuasive. Humans always act noble, pretending to hold themselves to some higher standard while secretly ranking and judging one another for their own gain. Isn't that right? In an instant, she closed the distance between them and whispered, "So why not dream a glorious dream with me, Kong?" It became clear that Kong was falling under Ager's mind spell. His thoughts grew foggy. Her words started to make sense, and he found himself thinking, maybe this isn't such a bad idea. If I accept her offer, I might survive longer. Riding with the Demon King's army would make reaching my goal so much easier. Ager's voice echoed in his mind. Yes, it would be a glorious dream. But just then, something inside Kong shifted. His divine blessing suddenly activated. A surge of clarity shattered the haze clouding his mind. Kang's eyes widened as he realized the truth. Ager wasn't just a Legion commander. She was a demon queen, and thanks to his blessing, he had managed to break free from her high-tier enchantment. Ager's expression twisted in surprise. "You broke the spell?" she muttered, stunned. That was a high-level mental binding. Then she frowned and looked down at her hands. It must be this new host body. I couldn't channel the full extent of my power. Kong chuckled. Ager's head snapped up, surprised. "Did you just laugh?" she asked. "Yes," Kong replied, "because what you said was nonsense." "Me? Your subordinate? That's hilarious." With that, Kong unsheathed his sashimi sword, its blade gleaming with sacred energy. "I'll never accept an offer like that." Ager narrowed her eyes. Such terrible manners. The scene cut to a few moments later. The battle had begun. Kong was locked in a fierce fight with Ager, but she was clearly overwhelming him. She dodged every strike effortlessly, often without even turning her head. Kong gritted his teeth and intensified the aura of his blessing, channeling it into his sashimi blade. The sword shimmered with radiant light. Finally, Ager's seized aura covering Kang's blade. Kong moved in with explosive speed, aiming a powerful strike directly at her. Ager swiftly leaped back, narrowly dodging Kang's strike. A faint smirk played on her face as she thought to herself, I was only half joking before, but now, this is getting interesting. As the two faced each other, Ager's demeanor shifted. Her expression turned serious as she raised her hand, chanting the words of her inferno spell. A blazing torrent of fire surged toward Kong, and she called out mockingly, "Give it your best shot." Unfazed, Kong broke through the wall of flames with sheer will and surged forward, charging straight at her with full force. Ager's eyes widened, genuinely impressed by his resolve. She began to retreat, dodging his relentless pursuit. As she moved, she observed keenly. He's pushed himself beyond human limits. It hadn't been long since Ager had descended into the human realm, but her body was still adjusting to its new vessel. Even so, she was taken aback when Kong caught up to her once again. Without hesitation, Kong swung his blade at her with all his might, but to his astonishment, Ager caught the attack with one hand. With a teasing smile, Ager said, "Why so impatient, Kong? I, for one, have all the time in the world." But Kang's thoughts were focused and resolute. "I can't afford to waste a single second," he told himself. Unleashing the full power of his blessing, a radiant aura surrounds him. He landed several sharp blows against Ager, his strikes growing faster and heavier. Kong knew he had only 4 seconds left under the full power of his blessing. Just 4 precious seconds. Pouring everything into a flurry of attacks, he pressed forward, forcing Ager to block and retreat. She observed silently, her thoughts racing. He's getting faster, stronger. When the final seconds ticked away, Kong stood breathless, his body trembling from exhaustion. The blessing had completely worn off. Meanwhile, Ager calmly lifted her injured hand, and with a single incantation, healed it instantly. "It would be a waste to let someone like you slip away," Ager said aloud. Her eyes gleamed with intrigue. "That burning spirit of yours, sacrificing your body just to keep up with me. And at your age, you're showing more promise than the child once foretold to be the Demon King's vessel." Smiling with newfound interest, she added, "Well now, I've adjusted to this body and this world. Let's see if you're truly the one who can fulfill my wish." Her tone darkened slightly. "But first, you'll need to pass one final test." Raising her hand, Ager summoned another blazing spell, her voice sharp and commanding. "Endure this much, at least." She launched the flaming attack directly at Kong. Just as the spell was about to strike him, a blur of silver appeared. Siegfried arrived, sword drawn, and intercepted the spell midair. "Kong, are you all right?" Siegfried shouted over the roar of magic. Ager's expression darkened as she saw the interruption. "Siegfried," she said coolly, "this is between me and Kong. I suggest you stay out of it." But Siegfried didn't budge. His stance remained firm, shielding Kong with unwavering resolve. Ager narrowed her eyes. "Very well. Let's see if your interference makes a difference." She released the full might of her spell, sending it head-on towards Siegfried. The scene abruptly shifted. Everything around Kong turned white. He floated in an endless void, weightless and dazed. As he slowly opened his eyes, he muttered, "Am I dead?" But the haze cleared, and Kong found himself back in the real world. His eyes widened in shock. In front of him stood Siegfried, blade still drawn, having fully blocked Ager's powerful attack.